A chess engine evaluates 20 million positions per second. A self-driving car makes a steering decision every 50 milliseconds. And a dog? A dog sits when you say sit, because last time it got a treat. That's reinforcement learning in one sentence. An agent takes actions in an environment, gets rewards or penalties, and learns which actions lead to the best outcomes. But here's the hard part. The best action right now might not give you a reward right now. Sometimes the treat comes later, sometimes much later. So the real question isn't, what gives me the most reward right now? It's, what gives me the most reward over time? Chasing every treat you see is a strategy, until you chase one across a highway. The agent needs to think long-term. That's what value-based methods solve. They teach an agent to estimate how good it is to be in a particular state, or to take a particular action, not just right now, but from here on out. Whether you're prepping for an RL exam or building your first agent, this is where the foundations get laid. Let's get into it. Meet our agent. A simple robot dropped into a 4x4 grid. Top left is start, bottom right is the goal, worth +10. Scattered around are pits, -10 each, and walls it can't walk through. The robot can move up, down, left or right. Each step costs -1, a small nudge that says, "Don't dawdle, find the goal." How does it decide where to go? Option 1. Brute force. Try every possible path, score them all, pick the best. That works here. 4x4 grid, sure, but scale that up to 1,000 states, 1,000,000, brute force collapses. Option 2. Give every state a number. A single number that answers the question, how good is it to be here? That number is the value function, and that changes everything. Instead of planning entire paths, the agent just looks at its neighbors and moves toward the highest number. Local decisions, global intelligence. Before we define value functions formally, let's lock in the vocabulary. The agent is the decision maker, our robot. The environment is everything else, the grid, the pits, the goal. At each time step, the agent is in some state, takes an action, and the environment returns a reward and a new state. State, action, reward, new state. That loop runs over and over until the episode ends. Either the robot reaches the goal, falls in a pit, or hits a step limit. Now, two closely related ideas. A policy maps states to actions. It's the agent's playbook. When you're here, go right. When you're there, go up. A value function maps states to numbers. It's the agent's scorecard. Being here is worth 7. Being there is worth -3. The policy says what to do, the value function says how good things are. And here's the key insight. If you have a perfect value function, the perfect policy falls out for free. Just always move to the highest valued neighbor. Two flavors of value function. V of S, the state value function. How good is it to be in state S, assuming you follow your current policy from here on out? It answers, what's this state worth? Q of SA, the action value function. How good is it to be in state S and take action A, then follow your policy after that? It answers, what's this state-action pair worth? V tells you which states are desirable, Q tells you which moves are desirable. If you only have V, you still need to know the environment's dynamics to pick actions. You need to know where each action actually takes you. But if you have Q, you just pick the action with the highest Q value. No model needed. That's why Q functions are the workhorse of model-free RL. Quick check. Can you see why Q is more useful to an agent that doesn't know the rules of the game? Good. Let's make this mathematical.
This is the Bellman equation.
It's the single most important equation in value-based RL, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Read it like this. The value of a state equals the expected immediate reward plus the discounted value of whatever state you land in next. Let's unpack that. You're in state S. You take an action. The environment gives you a reward R and drops you in a new state S prime. The value of S is that reward, what you get right now, plus gamma times the value of S prime, what's coming later. Gamma, the discount factor, a number between 0 and 1 that controls how much the agent cares about the future. Gamma equals 0, the agent is completely myopic, it only sees immediate rewards. Gamma equals 0.99, the agent cares deeply about long-term payoffs. Most practical systems use something between 0.9 and 0.99. Back to the dog. Gamma near 0, the dog lunges at the closest treat every single time. Gamma near 1, the dog learns to sit, shake, roll over, a whole sequence, because it knows the big treat comes at the end. Here's what makes Bellman beautiful. It's recursive. The value of this state depends on the value of the next state, which depends on the value of the state after that, all the way down to the end of the episode. One equation encodes the entire future. The Bellman equation for Q looks almost the same, but with a twist. Q of S, A, equals the expected reward plus gamma times the maximum Q value over all actions in the next state. That max is what makes Q learning so powerful. It always looks ahead to the best possible move, regardless of what the agent actually does. Watch this. The goal is worth plus 10. Its neighbors, they're worth 10 minus 1 discounted, so about 8. Their neighbors, about 6. The values ripple backward from the goal through the entire grid, like dropping a stone in water. Pits create negative ripples. Walls block them. The landscape of values emerges. Pop quiz. If gamma is 0.9, the goal reward is plus 10, and you're 2 steps away with minus 1 per step, what's V of your current state? Minus 1 plus 0.9 times minus 1 plus 0.9 times 10. That's minus 1 plus 0.9 times 8.1. So minus 1 plus 7.29, roughly 6.3. If you got something close to that, you understand the Bellman equation. If not, rewind 30 seconds. It's worth getting solid here, because everything that follows builds on it.
So the Bellman equation tells us what values should be. But how do we actually compute them? By 3 major families: dynamic programming, Monte Carlo, temporal difference. Each one trades off differently between what you need to know and how fast you learn. Dynamic programming is the textbook approach. You know the full environment, every transition probability, every reward. You iterate, start with all values at 0, sweep through every state, applying the Bellman equation, updating values. Sweep again, and again. The values converge. 2 classic TP algorithms. Policy evaluation computes V for a fixed policy. Just keep sweeping until values stabilize. Policy iteration alternates. Evaluate the current policy, then improve it by picking greedy actions. Then re-evaluate and repeat. It converges to the optimal policy, guaranteed. Value iteration is the shortcut. Instead of fully evaluating before improving, it does both at once. 1 Bellman update per state per sweep, always taking the max. Fewer sweeps, same destination. The catch with TP? You need the model, the full transition dynamics. In the real world, your robot doesn't come with an instruction manual. It has to learn by doing. Monte Carlo learns from experience. No model needed.
The agent plays out full episodes, start to finish, and uses the actual returns it received to estimate values. Simple version: run an episode. For every state you visited, record the total return you got from that state onward. Average those returns across many episodes. That average converges to the true value. Monte Carlo is unbiased. It uses real returns, not estimates, but it has high variance. A single episode might be lucky or unlucky, and it only updates after the episode ends. If episodes are long or never-ending, MC struggles. Enter temporal difference learning, the best of both worlds. TD doesn't wait for the episode to end. After every single step, it updates. The agent moves from S to S prime, gets reward R, and immediately adjusts its estimate. The update target is R plus gamma times V of S prime, the Bellman equation, but using the current estimate instead of the true value. That quantity, R plus gamma V of S prime minus V of S, is the TD error. It's the surprise. I expected this state to be worth 5, but after taking a step and seeing what happened, it looks more like 6. The TD error is the learning signal. Alpha is the learning rate. How much do you adjust on each step? Too high and you overshoot. Too low and you learn at a glacial pace. Typical range 0.01 to 0.1. Let's put them side by side. TP needs the model, updates all states every sweep, converges exactly. Precise but demanding. Monte Carlo, model-free, waits for episode end, unbiased but high variance. Patient but noisy. TD, model-free, updates every step. Biased but low variance. Fast and practical. TD is what most modern algorithms actually use. Watch a robot learn with TD. It stumbles around, hits a pit, gets -10, and immediately the value of the state before the pit drops. It finds the goal, gets +10, and the values along that path rise. Step by step, the landscape takes shape. No model, no waiting, just experience and updates.
TD gives us the mechanism. Now 2 algorithms that use it differently. SARSA and Q-learning. Same family, different philosophies. SARSA stands for State, Action, Reward, Next State, Next Action. It updates Q using the action the agent actually takes in the next state. If the agent's policy is exploratory, say epsilon greedy, where it picks a random action 10% of the time, then SARSA's update reflects that randomness. SARSA is on policy. It evaluates the policy it's actually following, warts and all. Q-learning looks almost identical, but instead of using the action actually taken, it uses the max, the best possible action in the next state. It doesn't care what the agent actually did. It asks, what would the optimal agent do from here? Q-learning is off policy. It evaluates the optimal policy while following an exploratory one. The difference matters. Classic example, the cliff walk. A grid with a cliff along the bottom edge. The goal is on the far side. The optimal path runs right along the cliff, shortest route. But one slip and you fall. Q-learning learns the optimal path, right along the edge. It knows that's the best route if you never make mistakes. But during training, with epsilon greedy exploration, the agent occasionally steps randomly and falls off the cliff. Repeatedly. SARSA learns a safer path. It takes the route 1 row above the cliff. Slightly longer, but it accounts for the fact that the agent will make random moves sometimes. SARSA's path is optimal for the policy the agent is actually running, including its mistakes. Which is better? Depends on what you need. Q-learning converges to the optimal policy, the one you deploy once training is done and exploration is off.
SARSA gives you the best policy for how the agent currently behaves. Safer during training, better for online systems where mistakes have real costs. Quick detour on epsilon greedy since both algorithms use it. With probability 1 minus epsilon, pick the action with the highest Q value. With probability epsilon, pick randomly. Epsilon starts high, maybe 0.3, so the agent explores widely. Over time, you decay it towards 0 as the agent gets more confident. Here's Q-learning in 6 lines of Python. Initialize a Q table of zeros. For each step, pick an action epsilon greedy, take it, observe the reward and next state, compute the TD target using the max, update Q. That's it. That's the whole algorithm. Look at that code. Could you change it to SARSA? What's the one line that's different? Right. Replace max Q S prime A prime with Q S prime A prime. The action you actually chose. One line. Same skeleton, different philosophy. Everything so far uses a table. 1 row per state, 1 column per action. Our 4x4 grid has 16 states and 4 actions. 64 entries. Easy. But Atari has roughly 10 to the power of 100 possible screen configurations. You can't build that table. You can't even imagine that table. Deep Q networks, DQN, replace the table with a neural network. Instead of looking up Q of S, A in a table, you feed the state into a network and it outputs Q values for every action at once. The network generalizes. It sees a state it's never encountered before, and because it learned patterns from similar states, it can estimate Q values anyway. That's the leap. From tabular to function approximation, from grids to galaxies. 2 tricks make DQN work. First, experience replay. Instead of learning from experiences in order, DQN stores transitions in a buffer and samples random mini batches. This breaks correlations between consecutive steps and stabilizes training dramatically. Second, target networks. DQN keeps a separate, slowly updated copy of the network to compute TD targets. Without this, the target shifts with every update. You're chasing a moving goalpost. The target network holds still long enough for learning to converge. In 2015, DeepMind's DQN played 49 Atari games from raw pixels, no handcrafted features, no game-specific rules, and reached human-level performance on over half of them. Same algorithm, same hyperparameters, 49 different games. That paper changed the field. DQN isn't perfect. It overestimates Q values. Double DQN fixes that. It treats all experiences equally. Prioritized experience replay fixes that. It outputs a single Q value. Dueling DQN separates state value from action advantage. But those are refinements. The core idea, neural network as Q function, opened the door to everything that followed. Let's land it. Value-based methods estimate how good states or actions are, so the agent can make smart decisions without brute forcing every path. The Bellman equation gives the recursive structure. The value of now depends on the value of next. DP computes it with a model. MC learns from complete episodes. TD learns from every step. SARSA and Q-learning are 2 flavors of TD control, on policy and off policy. And DQN scales the whole thing up with neural networks, experience replay, and target networks. If this was helpful, like it. Next video covers policy gradient methods, where instead of estimating values, the agent learns the policy directly. Subscribe so you don't miss it, and drop a comment. What's your RL project? I'm curious.